Hello everyone and welcome to Mastering PowerPoint in 1 Hour, brought to you by OneHourAcademy.com. My name is John and I'm the founder of 1 Hour Academy, and my goal is to get you up and running with PowerPoint in 1 hour or less. Now, PowerPoint has been the standard for almost 20 years now as a powerful tool for presenting ideas to other people. Anytime you go to a seminar or a presentation nowadays, you're likely to find a laptop with a projector running PowerPoint for everyone to see. But if I'm going to teach you this tool, I feel the first place to start is to talk about the secrets to making a great presentation. There's no point in learning PowerPoint if you don't use it properly, so I want to begin by talking about the 3 pillars that go into any effective presentation. Later in this lesson, I'm going to highlight the 5 key PowerPoint concepts that we're going to master in upcoming segments. But first, let's talk about the 3 pillars. So here's the secret to amazing multimedia presentations. First things first. The secret to amazing multimedia presentations is more than just combining text, images, sound, and video. It's about mastering the 3 pillars of an effective presentation, and here they are: content, design, and delivery. I'm going to go through each of these in a bit more detail right now, starting with the content of your presentation, which is what you've got to say. First thing you have to ask yourself is, what is the purpose of your presentation? Is it to inform, persuade, entertain? A lot of this has to do with your audience. Who is your audience? Are you presenting to clients, coworkers, upper management, your boss, people that work for you, your friends and family? Depending who your audience is, that's going to do a lot to talk about the content of your presentation. Content and delivery should be focused towards reaching your goal, whatever your goal is from the first point above. So you're going to collect your information from a variety of sources for your content: books, magazines, web, etc. Once you've got this information, you're going to want to organize it, because later you're going to put it into slides. The more accurate your information and the more complete, the more credible your presentation is going to be, and the more convincing you're going to be about what you're trying to get across to people. Let's talk about the second pillar, the designing of the presentation. As far as text goes, you should use it to list the key points of each topic and subtopic within your presentation. The text should be in point form, much like you see it here in this presentation. This way the audience can take notes if necessary. It's also easier for the audience to just understand what your main points are without having to dig too deep into the slide. You should also choose fonts that help to convey your message. Speaking of fonts, use only 1 or 2 fonts for an entire presentation. This presentation you're looking at here only uses 1 font for the title and a similar but slightly smaller font for the actual points in the slides. If you're going to use bold and italics, only do that where appropriate. You can see here I'm doing sort of a shadow effect on the title, and that's really the only place where I've got any kind of an effect. Text size should be at least 20 points. The size I'm using here is probably about 40. This is particularly important if you're presenting to a large audience or even a small audience who's sitting far away from the projector screen. You want to make it big enough so that people can see it from where they're sitting. Use appropriate colors. Again, you can see I'm only using a few colors here, mostly gray on white with a hint of green for accents on the bullets and the underline. So I want you to take a look at this following slide and tell me what's wrong with this presentation. I don't think it'll be hard for you to figure this out, but here's my unofficial bad presentation. Are you ready for this? Here we go. Designing the presentation. Whoa. If you can hear me, the text the audience sees projected on the screen should list the key points of each topic and subtopic within your presentation. The best designed screens are the kind of point forms most people in the audience would write down if they understood the topic. Well-chosen fonts help convey your message. Wow, that was painful, wasn't it? I don't even know where to begin. That was such a bad presentation. Let's talk about the way I presented it. If you could hear me over that loud typing noise as each letter hit the slide, you could tell a lot of things about my presentation that were not good. For one thing, at points I was talking too fast. I was saying a lot. Probably sounded disinterested in my presentation. Lots of things that really a good speaker shouldn't do. If you want to look at the design of this slide, again, it's easy to find fault with this. Look at the spelling mistakes in the title. If you look through the body, there's a few other places where spelling mistakes happen. Not even to mention the font, right? I've got some red up here, different styles of font, green. Sometime down here, for some reason, I decide that I'm going to use underlining in a different size. I don't have any bullet points on this slide, so it's really hard to get my point across. As well as the poor use of sound effects. That sound really drowned out my voice, and you couldn't really hear what I was trying to say. Drowned? Well, we'll say drowned. That's a better way to say it. Helps if I can speak proper English. So it's, that's definitely not the way you want to present. Okay, so there was a lot of things wrong, both with the design and the delivery of that slide. So let's talk a bit more about the third pillar, which is the delivery of the presentation, or the speaking of it. Now, I don't pretend to be the world's best public speaker. Obviously, like everybody else, I'm average. I can still work on doing better things with my presentations. But the key thing is to practice and to believe that you can get better. And over time, you do improve with your delivery of your presentations. But let's take a look at some pointers here, some things that I've learned doing presentations over the years that might help you out. First of all, there's a better sound effect. If you must use sound, use something that's delicate and to the point. So that's just a nice little click sound there, not quite as overpowering as that typewriter sound. But as far as delivering your presentation, be prepared, have your notes ready and your cue cards ahead of time. Honestly, this is probably my 10th or 11th take through this PowerPoint show, mostly because I wasn't quite as prepared at the beginning. Once I finally sat down and wrote a few notes about how I wanted to introduce this topic, the presentation flowed much nicer. There's another sound for you, a camera sound. Just a second example of how you can effectively use sound if you need to use it at all. Got to practice. Okay, I already mentioned this, but without practicing, my first few takes were really difficult, and I had to keep redoing them until I finally got it right. Think about what you want to say. Avoid distracting behavior. If you're presenting in front of people, you don't want to be looking at your watch, making people think that you're wasting their time, or clicking a pen, or chewing gum, or anything along those lines. Face your audience. Avoid ums and ahs when speaking, and try to speak clearly. I'm guilty of this sin. I try to not say very often, but it does come up quite a bit, as you've probably noticed as you hear me present this to you right now. Another important point here, though, is facing your audience. You want to be able to look your audience in the eye. That way they feel like you're presenting to them. People that are afraid of public speaking often look down at their feet, or worse yet, turn around and face their own slide on the wall so that they don't even look at their audience. So try to make eye contact. It just makes the presentation more convincing, and it makes you more personable. If there's a time factor involved, try to be early and organized. That means setting up your projector, installing your PowerPoint presentation, having it up and ready to go when everybody else gets there. Another good thing presentations have is a conclusion, an obvious end to the presentation. People like to know and have a sense for when the presentation is wrapping up. So it's good to have a slide at the end that does just that. So here I am wrapping up my presentation. You want to be nice and thank the people that came to watch your PowerPoint presentation. A good presenter will always leave a bit of time at the end too to answer any questions. This shows respect for your audience, that you really care about what they think and get feedback from them as well. So this ends the 3 pillars part of the presentation, but I'm not quite done yet. I also want to talk about key concepts in PowerPoint, things that we're going to learn over the next 3 or 4 lessons. Take a look at this. That's one of the concepts right there. It's best just to show that to you rather than try to describe it to you, but we'll talk about that one a little bit later on. Here's the first concept I want to talk about, the concept of slides. What you've been seeing one after another in front of you during this presentation are slides. And building a PowerPoint presentation essentially is building slides, putting text, graphics, AV effects, videos on your slides, combined together to create your presentation. Before you start making too many slides, you're going to decide on a design template. This is the main decision that really dictates the look and feel of your presentation. My design template is what controls these rounded corners and this big box in the background, as well as the fonts and the colors. And you can change it really quickly, and by doing so you can really change the look and feel of your presentation. But it's good to decide this early on so that you have a good idea of what your presentation is going to look like. Once you've decided that, as you build each slide, you're going to decide on each slide's layout, depending on what kind of slide it is. If it's a title slide, you're going to want a layout that just has a few main words in the slide itself. If it's a slide that has some pictures or some charts, There's different slides that have placeholders where you can put those kinds of objects along with your text on the same slide. So depending on the information on a slide, you'll have a different layout from one slide to the next. That demonstration you saw coming into the slide was called a slide transition. Okay, and as you can see here, it's a special effect that controls how slides look as you move from one slide to the next. I purposely did a really dramatic one there because I wanted you to see how dramatic you can get with transitions. The last concept we're going to look at in the lessons to come is animation. Take a look at how this last point sort of slides in from the bottom. All points did that on this slide, and again, I did that on purpose because I wanted to make a point that this is the feature that controls how objects appear on your screen. That's a subtle feature fading in from the bottom, but as you're going to see as we learn later on, there's a lot of different animation options available to you in PowerPoint. So that's it. That's the end of my first presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back for lesson 2.